Mom, why hasn't he left yet? After brutally murdering a family of 4, the killer did something almost unimaginable. He didn't clean the crime scene. He didn't flee immediately. Instead, he stayed inside the victim's home for hours, eating ice cream, drinking tea, using the internet, going to the bathroom, and leaving traces of himself everywhere before finally walking away. This is the story of the Setagaya Family Murders, one of Japan's most famous unsolved mysteries and the country's highest reward cold case. The crime took place in a duplex house in Setagaya, Tokyo. On the right side lived the victims, Yasumasa Miyazawa, his wife Yukiko, their 8-year-old daughter Nina, and 6-year-old son Rei. Yukiko's mother and sister lived in the attached house next door. Although the houses were connected, they were separated by a soundproof wall. Most of the neighborhood had already been vacated due to the expansion of a nearby park, leaving only a handful of occupied homes. On the morning of December 31, 2000, at around 10:40 a.m., Yukiko's mother became concerned when she could not find her grandchildren. Her calls to her daughter went unanswered. Using a spare key, she entered the house. What she found was horrifying. The home was in disarray, and all 4 family members had been murdered. Yasumasa was found at the bottom of the stairs with severe head injuries. A broken knife fragment was embedded in his skull. Nina's body was covered in stab wounds from her chest to her thighs. Yukiko was found near the staircase landing. She had suffered multiple blows, especially to her face, suggesting a violent struggle. Investigators believe she may have died trying to protect her daughter. Bloodstained tissues near Nina indicated that her mother had attempted to save her before succumbing to her own injuries. 6-year-old Rei was found in his bed upstairs. He had no visible wounds and was determined to have died from strangulation. Based on stomach content analysis, investigators estimated the murders occurred around 11:30 p.m. on December 30. What happened next shocked even veteran detectives. Instead of fleeing, the killer remained in the house for hours. He took 4 containers of ice cream from the freezer and squeezed them empty with his hands rather than using a spoon. He drank barley tea and ate melon. At approximately 1:18 a.m., he used the family's computer to browse the internet and even attempted to purchase theater tickets. He also used the bathroom and did not flush. Forensic analysis found food remnants in the toilet that did not match anything the family had eaten, further proving the killer had stayed after the murders. The killer had apparently injured himself during the attack. He rummaged through the house looking for bandages and first aid supplies. Used adhesive bandages were later found attached to a notebook. Even more astonishingly, he left behind the murder weapons, his clothing, fingerprints, DNA, and numerous personal items. One weapon was a sashimi knife he had brought with him. The blade broke during the attack, and the fragment matched injuries found on Yasumasa. Another blood-stained kitchen knife from the house was also used. 2 handkerchiefs were found at the scene. One had been cut into strips and wrapped around a knife handle, likely to improve grip and avoid blood splatter. The cloth contained traces of a French perfume, blood, and fingerprints. On the second floor, the family's credit cards, bank books, driver's licenses, and personal documents had been carefully arranged. Investigators believe the killer searched through them looking for useful information, perhaps trying to determine passwords or financial details. His own clothes were neatly folded and left behind. Among them were a sports jacket, gloves, scarf, and a black jacket from Uniqlo. Shoe prints matched a model of athletic shoes sold in South Korea. A green waste pouch contained sand that forensic experts traced to areas near California's Mojave Desert in the United States. The scene yielded dozens of fingerprints, blood samples, DNA evidence, hairs, and chemical traces. Investigators also discovered unusual fluorescent dyes on both the killer's clothing and in the garage, suggesting he may have visited the property before the murders. The killer appeared to have searched extensively through the house, throwing work documents and tutoring materials into the bathtub. Some papers were torn apart, suggesting he was looking for something specific. Curiously, despite having access to valuables, he stole only about 200,000 yen in tutoring fees. Bank books, credit cards, and other valuable items were left untouched. On the afternoon of the murders, a man in his 30s with a visible hand injury reportedly sought treatment at a railway station. His appearance partially matched the suspect description, but investigators failed to follow up quickly, and he has never been identified. Police later determined the killer most likely entered through a second-floor bathroom window that had been left open for ventilation. A missing screen and nearby objects provided an easy climbing route from the adjacent park. Footprint analysis suggested the killer moved using a sidestepping technique similar to military training. DNA evidence indicated that the suspect's paternal lineage was most common among Koreans, while his maternal mitochondrial DNA showed European ancestry. In January 2001, Tokyo police established a major task force. Over the years, more than 280,000 investigators worked on the case. Millions of leads were examined, and DNA samples were collected on an unprecedented scale. Despite all of this, the killer was never found. On April 9, 2001, investigators discovered a stone Jizo statue across a nearby river. Strange markings were carved into its base. Although police suspected a connection to the murders, no fingerprints or DNA were recovered, and its significance remains unknown. Every year on December 30, police continue distributing flyers near the crime scene, asking witnesses to come forward. In 2010, the reward for information reached 20 million yen, with an additional 17 million yen offered by the victim's family, making it the largest reward in Japanese criminal history. New DNA analysis released in 2025 expanded possible ancestry links to populations in the Caucasus region and Eastern Arabian Peninsula, an extremely rare genetic combination in East Asia. A quarter-century later, countless suspects have been investigated and eliminated, yet the killer remains unidentified. Yukiko's mother is now elderly, her hair long since turned white. But she has never given up hope. As long as she lives, she says, she will continue waiting for the day the truth is finally revealed. And the house where the murders occurred remains preserved to this day, a silent reminder of one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the modern era.